Okay, I think I figured it out. I think I got it this time. I finally have figured out how to take over the world. Okay, that might be a stretch. It's still a work in progress, but I got the next best thing for you, which is I know how to create a bunch of folders that could help you to organize your life in a much better fashion. Hear me out. Okay, before we start though, we got to talk about the problem. So I'm going to give you a little backstory and then we're going to jump into the solution. Now, if you've been watching this channel for any bit of time or you're new to it, please subscribe. Um, the problem that I've been having is about how do you organize and keep track of just an enormous amount of information spread across multiple different companies, spread across multiple different thought process, multiple different disciplines even, right? Like how do you keep track of all this stuff? And this has been a problem that I've been setting out to solve for a while. And as a result, I've been reading a lot of books about it and just like checking to see what other people are doing. And there's Logsec and Notion and Obsidian and OneNote and Evernote and whatever note out there, Notion, and right, everybody's got a note taking app. In fact, everybody and their dog at this particular point has a note taking app, and maybe cats even, right? So we get a problem, right? Clearly, we haven't been able to solve this, what I would consider a crisis at this particular point, right? Because we're living in an era where, we have vast amounts of information coming at us. You're expected to somehow take this information and sort it out and put it into your note-taking system and then move on with your life and then be able to recollect that information at some point in the future. The problem is that nobody really has a proper note-taking system, and the people that really do, they're like geniuses in the world that have this as a gated community, etc. So anyway, I just want to talk about my personal struggles on this journey to figuring things out, and I'll show you what I've learned, and then we'll kind of jump into the details, and hopefully that'll be enough for you to watch some of the subsequent videos that'll be coming in this particular stuff, because I don't think I'll be able to solve it in one problem. Like I said, taking over the world is a really big challenge. So let's go with the what the issue is first. Okay, so first of all, back up a bit. I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again. Go watch this guy. The book is called The Second Brain. This is the book that I'm reading right now. It's called The Second Brain, and it has this concept that I really like that I haven't been able to articulate well until now, which is this notion that you have a lot of stuff in your head, all kinds of stuff, random set of stuff, and the idea is that you need to be able to kind of get them organized in a way that makes sense, right? And I think this guy, his journey was interesting because he had some medical problems, and what he kept finding is that the doctors kept trying to push him around, and so he decided to kind of take all his medical files and kind of organize them, and that was sort of the birth of this. So he has this concept, which is build a second brain, which was interesting, right? So he has this concept, and it's called para, and I'm going to kind of give some high level here first, and then we're going to jump into the details. Okay, so bear with me for a second. So he has this concept. It's called para, P-A-R-A. Okay, talked about it in my other videos, but I want to kind of level set in there. And it's a really fundamental concept. P stands for projects. Okay, A stands for areas. R stands for resources, and A stands for archive. Right? Okay. So the concept is very simple. Your projects are any single thing where they have sort of a timeline, a start and a finish. Right? So maybe you're doing some kind of project at work or at school or whatever it is, and so you have this start, a clear definition of a start and finish. Maybe you got a deadline, right? You got to write a white paper or whatever it is. It's a very clear start and finish of a project, and you dump all your stuff in there. Areas, on the other hand, are kind of like more open-ended. Okay, so these are things like health, fitness, etc. Okay, things that you just want to put notes in there and just kind of have them sitting there, but it's just kind of open-ended, right? license, or I mean, like your you know, like let's say I keep my license, like a copy of my license digitally, etc. Right? Resources, the way how I like to describe this is an idea folder, right? Any single thing where there's an idea, brainstorming, coming up with new concepts, etc., you just kind of dump it in there. And archive, or really what happens is you take these projects, whenever they're finished with it, you dump it into archive. That's the method that this guy came up with, and it's a fantastic method. It really works. It's really, really good. If this is all you need, go watch this guy video and your problems would be solved. Okay. However, if anybody knows any single thing about me, my brain is a little bit different. It doesn't work the same way. But I believe that there's a lot of people like me out there. So here's the problem. The problem is I would describe myself as a bit of a rebel. But for this conversation, I'm a consultant. So I'm a consultant, and I have companies that I do stuff with. So I have a company that I do some stuff with called PhD. I have a company that's my own startup called SnapSuite. I have this DU channel, which I call Dwayne Unfinished, and that's its own thing. And then I have other companies, new company coming online, Forum Hub. We'll talk about that in another video. Okay, so that's one. Underneath each company, there's a series of things that I'm kind of working on, right? There's planning, there's brainstorming, right? There's projects under here. There's financial stuff, right? Like there's all kinds of stuff that I'm kind of have underneath this company. You get the idea. Same thing goes for each one of them, okay? So the problem that I'm having with the power method is that if you just use the P for projects, you have to kind of dump all of this stuff under one umbrella. They're technically projects, and that's where it gets a little bit messy for me. So I need a slightly different system, a system that's going to help me to organize stuff via companies first. Hence the new system, CORE. Okay, CORE stands for companies. O is for obligation, OL. Don't know how to spell obligation. Mind you, I came up with this acronym. And resources, RESOURCES. You guys know how to spell. I don't need to spell for you. And E is for records, right? The E in records, okay? RECORDS. So companies is just one level up from projects, okay? Obligations is basically your area, if you're going with the power method, right? R is the same, resources. And instead of E, we got an A for archive. I got an E for records, okay? That's the difference. Taking this guy's concept, literally, blatantly stealing it, making it my own. That's how we do things around here. So, why CORE? All right, let's talk about the problem a little more in depth. So, on your companies, as I mentioned, see, okay, you have a bunch of folders. So the good thing about this is that even if you don't have a bunch of companies that you're doing stuff, because maybe you're not a consultant, it might just be one company. It might be, let's say your employee, your current company that you're working with right now, right? So company A, blah, 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 right? But you might, maybe you're doing some side hustle or something, right? Like you got something going on. So you might create another folder for that side hustle, right? Or maybe you're going to school. So companies is really, you could leave it to companies, and then it would just be the university folder. And let's pretend that you went to another institution. You would just put another folder like that, right? Like, so this could kind of change in structure, but the idea is that underneath that there's sub sections. That's the goal. Okay, so that's sort of the foundation. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep breaking these videos up because I want to keep them very short and sort of to the point. Is I'm going to take this concept and I'm going to apply it to everything. Okay, what I mean by every single thing is everything. Okay, every single thing. So this is my personal folder. This is an example of my personal folder here, and it has all things like certificates, financials, blah 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 kind of deal. All that's going to be dumped into one. So we'll talk about how we're going to do that in a sec. But let me give you the very high level sort of like structure. And then I have a Python script that I'm going to put on my GitHub that I will link to in this description, that you'll be able to run it and automatically create a version of this, and you'll be able to tweak it to your heart's content. Okay, so you don't have to manually create these folders. That would just be absurd. We're all about automation around here. Okay, so here's the idea. Companies, as I mentioned, under each company you have company 1, right? And then you have company 2, etc. Under that company you have a folder for planning, you have a folder for sales, you have a folder for marketing, operations, you could call this human resources or any single thing that you want, finances, legal, and any single thing else, right? You just keep adding folders. And as you can see, you could potentially put subfolders: strategic goals, plans, market research, roadmaps, right? Just to kind of break things up. You don't have to. You could just leave it at that one level if that works for you. I'm going to try putting things underneath these subfolders here, because what I'm finding is it's just getting hard to just navigate and find things when I really, really want it, right? But if I know I'm having a conversation around marketing and I'm talking about branding, I know exactly where to go, right? My logos and all that kind of stuff is going to be here. Or I'm talking about social media, or I'm talking about content, etc., right? So that's kind of my thought process here. Now, this might get too complex, I would admit that. But the point is, the idea is that if you don't want to do that, you could just do the simpler version, which is like this: planning, right? And then you just have every single thing underneath it. So that's a goal. Under the obligations folder, you're going to have 3 different types of obligations. What I consider personal obligations, your own personal stuff, and or maybe your personal and your immediate family. You could make that decision, right, on your personal. Then you have another, and underneath that, sorry, you have health, finances, identity, driver's license, permanent, right, family, legal, employment, planning, right, all the stuff around that, travel, etc. Then you have a people's folder. So there's 3 folders under obligations. There's personal, and then there's people, and then there's family, which could be merged, right? So personal and family could be merged together. This could be personal / family, right? But my definition of family in this particular case is really like, so people are like friends 1, friend 2, colleague, acquaintances, etc. My definition of family is like, you know, uncle or aunts or family reunions or any of that kind of stuff, right? It would all be kind of sitting in its own sort of folder, right? Resources, I got audio notes. So the idea will be that if I'm walking on the street and I do a voice note, it'll automatically route to this folder. I got brainstorming, any single ideas, dumping images, all that type of stuff, bookmarks, books, design notes, etc., right? And then records is really just sort of like an archive. It's an archive of all the stuff that are old, it's not necessarily relevant, but I might want to go back to in the future. That's the principle. That's what we're going to develop. This is how we're going to make it happen. I'm going to expand upon this. I have a Python script that I'm going to run, and that Python script will basically generate this folder, and then we're going to start moving things into it in the next video. So stay tuned for that. We're going to start shifting things around, and what we're going to do is we're going to keep pushing this video till the point where we get to even setting up things like maybe Notion and LogSec, so at least we have the same structure all across the entire system. Okay, all right, so I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.